Good evening and welcome to Lloydminster District Co-op's second of six-part series with our deep health model um, with Donna Schallenberg tonight. So I believe tonight she's going to be reviewing environmental health with us. And so, I'm excited to hear what Donna has to say tonight. And we'll go from there. So I'll let you take it away, Donna, and we'll go into it.
Okay, you're just gonna throw it straight at me.
Straight at you, yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
that's fair enough. So last week we talked about purpose
Yes.
and goal setting. So I'm hoping that it was helpful for people to kind of look at their health from a little bit different perspective, and maybe start to apply some of that or give it some thought at the very least.
Right.
Today we're going to talk about environmental health. And when we say environment, the first thing people think about is climate.
Mhm.
And does the climate have an impact on your health? Of course.
Yeah.
But environment, when it comes to health, is about an awful lot more than just the climate, right? And we live in that area of the country or of the world where we get a lot of variations in our climate. In fact, we were just talking about the fact that by next week we might have snow, right? So a big change that's going to happen. So that's one of the things that we're going to talk about tonight. But environmental health has to do with an awful lot more things than that. So there's a few things that we're going to cover today. One of the main things that we're going to talk about is the importance of the people around us, because they actually form a huge part of our environment. What resources you have available. So different people will have different resources available, and they'll have different needs for resources as well, just depending on a whole bunch of factors. So we can be talking about cultural, we can be talking about social, we can be talking about mental health issues. The resources that are available for people, depending on what their needs are, that's also a part of their environment. Then just the ability for people to feel like they're safe and that they're secure and that they are supported is also a huge part of their environment. As you can imagine, if you're trying to go through life and you don't have any supports in place, then your environment isn't as healthy as someone who does have a lot of supportive people around them, right?
Okay.
And then there's also a control part, because you can control some things and you can't control other things.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yeah.
And so what parts and what things in your environment can you actually control? And then what things can you not control, right? And then at the end, we're going to just talk about some practical steps and just some things that people can do that are really easy things to maybe change their environment, change their perspective a little bit, and just simple things that they can start to add in between now and the next time when we talk again.
Awesome.
All right. So you ready?
Oh, yeah.
All right. He's like, I got this.
Here
I
we
got
go.
this.
I'm already taking notes.
Yeah.
So we're
I
ready to
saw
go.
that. So when we talk about environment, we can be talking about things inside your house. We can be talking about things at your workplace. We can be talking about climate, but it can also be things that are happening in your country. It can be political, right? Our political environment affects how we live. And then also just those very close things to us that are part of our habits and our behavior. So we will have certain habits and behaviors based on the things around us. And then figuring out, okay, based on those habits and behaviors and the things we have around us, what can we change to make our environment more healthy? Okay. So it is very much about what you add or what you subtract, right? Sometimes you need to add things, sometimes you need to subtract things, that increases your ability to enhance your health. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is resources. And resources are important because everybody's are different. So if we are living in a situation where we have food scarcity, do we know where our resources are where we can access food? For those of us that don't deal with food scarcity, our resources for food are going to be different, right? Perhaps the quality of the food that we have access to is also going to be different. So understanding that from a health standpoint, we do have different options just based on what resources we personally need, right? And so those resources come from a variety of places. Sometimes those are cultural. So if you think about people that have immigrated to our country and that are learning English as a second language, do they need different resources than you or I do that English is our first language,
Right.
Their resources are different. For somebody that perhaps is in an environment that is unsafe, so whether that's from a relationship side or, and many things, do we know what their resources are so that they can change their environment and improve their health? As you can imagine, if you're in an unsafe living condition, then anything that you can use as a resource to get you out of it is going to be beneficial for your health.
Sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that leads kind of into the second one, which is safety and security. So your environment, to have optimum health, needs to be safe and secure, right?
Yeah.
And you need to feel like you're supported. And so if your environment doesn't give you those things, then we need to be able to find you resources so you can find those things, okay? And when we find them, then it lets you make better choices about your health. Until you can get out of those unsafe situations and into safer ones, it's very hard to put your health first, right?
Mhm.
So that is definitely one of those pieces. And then the third piece is the control. So we can't control everything as much as we would like to control everything. And we kind of talked about this last time when we talked about, spouses that maybe don't see eye to eye on health metrics or those kinds of things. And I said, well, you can only worry about what you can control. You cannot control someone else's behavior. Maybe you can't control where you work. Maybe you can't control your income, right? There are a lot of factors in life that you can't control. Stressing over the things that you cannot control is not beneficial to your health.
Correct.
Right? So we want to be very clear about the things that we can control, the things that we can't control, and then making adjustments only to the things that we can control instead of driving ourselves batty,
Right.
trying to change the things that we can't, like a spouse, as an example. There's a couple other things that fall into that, things that you can't change immediately are things like poverty, racism, disability, those kinds of things that do have an impact on your health. And then that again gets back to your safety, your support, and resources you need to be able to achieve optimum health. So everybody's a little different, obviously. And this is kind of part of why a lot of the myths that go around health and wellness particularly annoy me, because if you are telling everyone you have to have organic fruit or organic vegetables, and if you're not, then you are damaging yourself.
Right.
Well, there's a lot of our population that can't afford to buy organic fruits and vegetables.
Right.
So, and that's then puts them in a situation where perhaps they're feeling like they're not providing well for their family because somebody out there said without being organic fruits and vegetables, you're doing an inadequate job as a parent feeding your children. And that's simply not fair. And it's also not true. So the myths that go into our health and wellness often don't take into consideration what's happening in environment. And it does need to be a serious consideration.
Yeah.
So some of the things that you can't control are that food scarcity, right? And needing a food bank. There are programs in place, trying to help people to get out of that food scarcity. Again, that's a resource. You can't necessarily control living in an unsafe neighborhood. This is where you live. This is where you live. A partner that doesn't support your wellness journey, lack of income, and then weather is another big, huge one.
Right.
As much as, we'd love to control the weather, we just can't do that. And so any of those things fall within that list of you can't control. There are more things, obviously, but that's just a pretty good list. And so those people that also fall within that list, or anybody that's dealing with any of those things that you can't control, also often is left out when we talk about those myths of the fitness and the health industry. So the things we can't control are the ones that we often forget about. So how do we build environmental health? We talked about not stressing over what we can and can't control. But the second part of that is who influences your decisions, and then what stories are you telling yourself? And this matters because the people that affect your decisions And then the story that you tell yourself is how you start to motivate or change the environment that you're in. Right? So let's just say one of my least favorite phrases is, I'd like to, but. The word but is just a killer.
It lets you get out of your commitment, right?
Yes, absolutely. And it gives us an automatic excuse, right? But it's also incredibly powerful because then it instantly puts your brain in this position where it's like, well, but there's no way I could possibly do that.
Yeah.
That but is there, right? So for an example, well, I'd like to walk in the winter, but it's too cold. There are lots of ways that you can make those adjustments, right? But when we put the word but in there, all of a sudden it seems impossible. This seems like an unsurmountable thing, right? And so the language that we use for ourselves and then the people that we surround ourselves with then also become part of our environment. It's part of what we surround ourselves with, okay? And so when we take those pieces into account and we start to take away our buts, and I would but, or I just is another one. I just, or I'll try isn't, I can't. All of those phrases really put you into a story that you tell yourself about yourself, your health, your wellness, your surroundings, all the things. And language matters. So once we start to change the language and start to take those phrases out, all of a sudden you start to be able to see the possibilities for the things that you can change and the things that you can make a difference with, right? Instead of being stuck in the things that you think you can't change. Because I gave us a pretty good list of things that we actually can't change. But it is amazing when I talk to people how long their list is. It's way longer.
And I'm instantly thinking about a couple of weeks ago where the 5 whys, like why can't I walk outside in the winter? No, but really, why can't I? And digging down, like I'm just thinking about that and how you can really dig deeper to find out about what's the roadblock and how can you get past it.
Exactly. Exactly. And to be fair, are there some people that it's not the greatest idea? Yes. Right? But for other people, are there ways to get around it? Yes. 100%. And so sometimes it's just problem solving. And when we problem solve with clients, very often they'll just look at me and go, how did I not think about that? Why did I not have that idea on my own? Because you were stuck. The language you were using kept you stuck here, and you couldn't actually see past it to see what some of the solutions would be. And some of them are very, very simple. But once you get that language in there and it blocks you, then it's really hard to see past it. So, so some of the things that you can immediately change are things like your daily routine. And we think, oh, my goodness, changing that's going to be so hard. But you don't have to do everything at once. You can make small changes. And you're more likely to be able to keep those changes if you do make them small. So last time somebody had asked a question and I didn't quite understand the question, but it does relate to this. It relates to what we talked about last week with purpose when we were talking about goal setting, but it also relates to this about setting a daily routine. Because I think what they were trying to ask is that if you're going to set a new goal, if you tie it to something that you already do all the time, which was the muscle memory part of the question, does it make it easier to put the new goal in place? And the answer is 100% yes, right? So if, let's just say you want to start taking some zinc to help boost your immune system, but you can never remember to take that little pill when you get up in the morning. If you put it beside the teapot where you're going to make your tea in the morning, are you more likely to have your zinc tablet? Probably, because it's right there and it's part of then your daily ritual. And then after you've done it for a few weeks, could you then remove the pills and see if you can still do it without it being part of the daily ritual? Sure, maybe you got to pull it back, right? But something that small tied to part of your daily routine can actually have a big impact. And what did you do? You changed your environment. You took the pills from over there where you don't remember them, you never see them, and you don't take them, and you just move them over here. You changed your environment this much, and now you remember, right? So sometimes those changes in environment are just, well, they seem minuscule. right? But it was a really good question because it relates to this too.
Sure.
So anytime you're trying to change a facet of your environment, if you can tie it to something that you already do, you'll have way better success in doing it.
Right. For example, and I think this would be similar, but early in my journey, when I was like wanting to try to get steps, or had a day where I didn't have a lot of time to get steps, but I had to run some errands, I always made sure I walked the complete perimeter of the store I was in, not just straight to the item and back. And it's amazing, all these different stores we can go into doing errands. How they're big, right? Like Canadian Tire is a big store, for example,
Yeah.
or whatnot. Like, so when you walk the perimeter of these big facilities, you can get a lot of steps in. So yeah. Anyways, I was kind of tying a habit or something you're doing already. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because I actually do that when I go to Co-op for my groceries.
I'm the same way. Just make sure I walk the whole perimeter.
I walk the whole perimeter of the store, whether I need to walk the whole perimeter or not. I don't walk in and just grab the thing and walk back out. I walk the perimeter. So yes, you can tie those things to things that you already do. Does it take you a couple extra minutes? Sure.
Yeah.
But the couple extra minutes, does it have a benefit to your health? Yes.
Correct.
And all you've done is make a very small change to your environment, right? And then the second part of this is something you can change right away is what do you have around you? What tools do you have that are around you? And one of my favorite examples of this is I had somebody say, well, I keep meaning to go for a walk every day, but I always forget to put my shoes or bring my shoes. And it's like, so put your shoes in your car and leave them there.
Yeah.
And she was, that is a great idea. But it never occurred because she kept thinking, well, I just keep forgetting them. If I could remember them, I'd go for a walk. Yeah. And then it became, well, I want to go to the park and walk, but my car goes this way to get home and I have to go that way to get to the park. And so we actually started to change her route and went, okay, well, instead of going this way to go home, every day you're going to drive the other path. So we changed her environment. Which way are you driving home now? And she wasn't allowed to stop at the park. Don't stop. I just want you to drive that way. I want you to get used to leaving work, driving this way to get home. And do it for a week or two. Get your brain around the idea that you now have a different path to take.
Right.
She did it for 2 weeks, has the shoes in the back seat. By the third week, she's getting out and she's just going to the park every day after work and walking.
There you go.
Because she changed her environment. And how simple is that? It's a very simple solution, but most people don't think about it.
Right.
But I always go this way to get home. Yes, I know. It doesn't really, it's Lloyd. It doesn't really take much longer to go the other way, right? So could you? Yes, right? I have a client that after work is not a great alternative. And so bring your shoes to work and then go outside for a walk.
Yeah.
At lunchtime. Go at lunch. You have half an hour. You have 15 minutes to eat, 15 minutes to go for a walk. Yeah, no, just walk around the building. Doesn't matter. Doesn't have to be very far. Changed her environment. We changed her thought process about it. She was like, but I can't. I don't have time. You do.
Yeah.
You just have to figure out where it is.
Right?
Where is the time? So making sure that you have the tools that you need at your disposal so that you can do the things that you need to do. So if you don't own a pair of running shoes, then you need to go buy a pair of running shoes, right? But that part of changing your environment can be as simple as adding a tool, right? The third part is the people you interact with. So in your environment, you have a whole bunch of different people. Generally speaking, you are the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And you will carry out the behaviors and the habits of the people that you hang out with. And it's actually proven in study after study. If you are in a group of 4 people, and this is a not healthy example, but 4 of those people smoke and you do not, the chances of you picking up smoking are very high.
Yeah.
If you're in a group of 5 people and 4 of them drink and you don't, you are going to probably start drinking, right? So the opposite side of that is if you hang out with 5 people and 4 of them are going out for walks all the time, instead of going to a coffee shop for a visit, they're going out for a walk at the park, they're doing those healthy habits,
right.
You are probably going to pick up on them too. right? So those people that you surround yourself with are also a huge part of your environment. And so who are those people? And if you don't have a lot of those people, can you go and find some of them? The answer is yeah.
Yeah.
You could find them. And then the last part is, what food do you have near you, right? Can we change that? Yes. Yes, you can, right? For the most part. There are, again, if we're talking about food scarcity, then that's a different equation. But for most of us, we can make changes to what do we have in our surroundings. And right now, because of things like Skip the Dishes and the easy access to having food delivered to our door, and it's so much easier than cooking a meal, and we're really a very instant gratification kind of a society. Even if you started with something as simple as making one meal a week, if you always eat out at this point, is that changing your environment? Yeah. It's going and getting some groceries, bringing them home. You have food in your house instead of Skip coming and bringing it to you, right? You go down to Co-op where they've got some fabulous options that are already essentially made for you, and you buy them and you take them home and you just cook them, right? Or whip up a salad or whatever it might be.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be hard, but what you've done is taken a part of your normal environment, which is Skip and restaurants, and you've put in grocery store and some groceries for one of those meals. And that little bit of a change in your environment is the first step to making longer term changes in your environment. Yeah. All right. You have any questions for me? I need a drink of water.
Yeah, you cruising along. No, you mentioned earlier a little bit about diets and the fitness industry, and I don't know, the whole social status thing, and I guess just getting past that, like, I don't know, just a canned vegetable, for example, still has the nutrients of a vegetable, right? So I guess, is there resources out there that you're aware of where a person can just find like very affordable options that you can still shop a standard grocery store, the Co-op, and get some things, but and still produce like a pretty well balanced meal at an affordable price?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, the Co-op does a really good job of having a wide variety of things available, right? So if you're going to talk about fruits and vegetables, are fresh fruits and vegetables generally the most expensive version? Yes, generally they are. But frozen fruits and vegetables, fantastic option.
Sure.
Canned fruits and vegetables, also good option, right? And like you said, you're still getting all the nutrients out of having them. It doesn't have to be that everything has to be fresh. And so if you are a little bit more on a budget, buying things that are canned and frozen are perfect examples of doing that. You'll do bulk sales, right? The 10 items for $10 kind of thing. And so can you get good deals on some fresh fruits and vegetables sometimes when those happen? Yeah, for sure. So could you take them home and freeze them yourself so they don't go bad? Yeah, you could also do that, right? And so when we teach portion sizes, which is something we'll talk about on another day, but generally a serving of vegetables is like a handful, right, of vegetables. And so when you start talking about handfuls of vegetables, even buying canned and frozen, this is a lot of vegetables, right? Even from a bag. So, but things like lettuce, right? Things that you would make a salad with tend to be less expensive on the vegetable scale, and you could buy more of them and they go further than, say, something like asparagus, which tends to be much more expensive, right? So there are alternatives that way as well. Making sure that you're buying things that have a little bit more mass for less money, so that you can get a nice serving of those vegetables in. Yeah.
Cool. And then the other thing I was thinking about too, like culturally, I think there's a lot of cultures in the city here that they're kind of tied to how they eat, maybe tied to lots of sauces and those kind of things. And I guess just some suggestions around how they can be mindful, maybe even of like, I understand it's part of the culture and that connection, but how, saving almost that 80-20 rule, maybe
Mhm.
potentially saving it for those gatherings. I don't know, just some thoughts a little bit around some cultural pieces.
Culture is really interesting.
Yeah.
Because when we do nutrition coaching, culture is one of the things that we take into consideration.
Okay.
So if we take, for an example, white rice is bad for you. How many cultures in the world have white rice as a staple in their diet?
Right.
A lot of them. And so now we're going to tell them that the way that they've been raised, how they grew up, and in most of those countries, they don't have an issue with obesity. They don't have as many health issues. And this is a staple of their diet. So all of a sudden, they move to North America, and we're going to tell them that rice is bad. Bad. Not just it's not good for you, it's bad, right? And is it inherently bad? No food is inherently bad, right? I dislike that term when we're talking about food, because food doesn't have morality. You can't attach morality to food.
Okay.
But I think from a cultural standpoint, if you then tried to say, well, you shouldn't be eating rice anymore. For somebody that grew up as that is their staple food, you're going to run into an awful lot of roadblocks with that.
Right.
So this is where we talk about, instead of restricting people, what are you adding in? And from a cultural standpoint, you're better off adding things in than telling people to take things away, because this is inherently who they are.
Mhm.
This is a piece of them, and trying to take it away,
Sure.
right, isn't fair, number one. And we don't want to disassociate people from their culture.
Sure.
Right. This is how mom cooked for them.
Yeah.
And raised them, and right, like this is part of their heart and their upbringing. So maybe it is how much protein is included in that meal.
Balancing it out.
Let's add,
Yeah.
right? So if we're finding that the biggest portion of that meal is rice, how much protein do we need to add to it? So let's try that. Let's add some protein and see if we start to decrease the amount of rice that we're putting into a meal.
Okay.
As an example.
Yeah.
Let's maybe increase the amount of vegetables that's going in there, right? And see what happens with that meal. Maybe they stay full for longer. Maybe they just feel better because they were lacking protein. Everybody is different, but I tend to look at it as what do we add, not what do we take
That's
away.
awesome.
Yeah. I don't like taking things away from people. I don't think that is beneficial long term. I think the more things that you add for people, the other things just gradually kind of start to decrease on their own, and you're not forcing people into a dogmatic, this is the way, you have to do it this way. There is no right or wrong. How works for you to eat is not the same as for me.
Right.
Or like it's just not the same for every single person. And yeah, you can't take that cultural piece out of food.
Okay.
Whether it's, if you talk to somebody that is from Thailand, right, or somebody that's from the Philippines, they have some very specific things that, this is just like home.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take that away from them when they're not home anymore.
Right.
Probably not.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Is that a good answer?
That is. I appreciate that.
Perfect. You have another one?
No.
You're good?
You can continue. Yeah,
You
you're
can
good.
continue
You're good.
now. All right, fair. So I also want to talk about practical steps. And the triangle that we have up here is probably not super clear, but it will be included in the slides when we hand them out later, and they'll be included. So basically, when we share the pyramid, the most important things are at the bottom. And those most important things tend to be the things people forget and they skip them.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of building these very base, simple foundational habits, they try to go to the top of the pyramid first. The bottom is what's important. Building the foundation for creating a good environment, whether it's in your home, your work, anywhere in your surroundings, is the very first part, right? So things like, what's your social environment like? So we talked about the 5 people that are closest to you.
Right.
That's number 1. Number 2, what are you buying and putting in your fridge?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you can't start counting macros and counting calories if you can't make a grocery list and get to the store and buy the groceries in the store. You can't start counting macros if you're eating out for supper every night, right? Like there's kind of an order of things that goes with that.
Mhm.
So we want to make sure that our environment is a healthy environment where we are adding again, those really simple, basic things in, like how do we make a grocery list? How do we meal plan and understand then what we need to put on the grocery list from the meal plan? How do we get to the store and buy those groceries that we need for the week without having a whole bunch of food waste? And that might look like don't go shopping on a empty stomach.
Yeah.
Right? One of those,
I've
that's a
done that.
very true one, by the way. And then being able to establish a regular physical activity program. That is also part of your environment. And how do you put the pieces in place in your surroundings to ensure that you're successful? For some people, it has to be the exact same time, the exact same day. This is where I need to go. This is where I need to be. That's how my studio is organized, because consistency and schedule is what really helps people to stay long term. I have people that have been in the same class, same time, same day for 13 years. And they don't ever book anything else in their schedule on those days.
Yeah.
And to be successful, that's one of the bottom pieces. Same time, same day. It's on the
Right.
schedule. Nothing interferes. This is what's happening on that day. Now, of course, things interfere occasionally, right?
Yeah.
But generally, again, 80-20 rule,
Yeah.
right? This is what's going on, and I have now structured my environment to make sure that this is what can happen. So whatever it is that you need to change in your environment to make your schedule work so that you can integrate these really basic things is kind of where we're trying to get people. Right. So when we go to start making changes to our daily routine, it can be really simple things. Let's say you are finding, and our moms will be able to relate to this, or single parents will be able to relate to this a lot. You get up in the morning and you are running around like a chicken with your head cut off because you've got to get yourself ready, you got to get your kids ready, there's lunches to be made, you got to get some breakfast, you got to get the kids breakfast, then you got to get the kids to daycare or to school, and then you got to get yourself to work. That's a lot of things to get done first thing in the morning, right?
Yeah.
So if this is your chaotic way that your day starts, are the chances that the rest of your day and the rest of your environment are going to stay chaotic? Yeah. That once you kind of set that in motion for the day, that's kind of how it's going to stay. And so one of the first things that you can do for yourself is say, I'm going to get up 15 minutes early and I'm just going to sit and have coffee and I'm just going to start my day calm. It's a simple change in your environment that can have a massive impact on your day. This is just an example,
Sure.
right? Maybe you get your kids to help you make lunches the night before so that it's one thing that's off the list so you don't have to do it the next day.
Right.
Again, just a suggestion, doesn't work for everybody. Maybe instead of trying to rush after work and fit in something so that you can get your movement in, maybe you adjust your schedule so that you can get the walk in before the kids get up in the morning, right? Everybody will be different.
Yeah.
So changing your daily routine and the little pieces that go into it are one of the first steps that you can take. And it can be as simple as every single day I make a stop at Starbucks on my way to work and buy one of the 550 calorie drinks. And instead of doing that, I'm going to brew myself a cup of coffee at home.
Yeah.
And if that's your first step, that's a fabulous first step of changing your environment and changing how your day is going to go, changing your daily routine, right? Maybe one of your first steps is that instead of going and buying lunch every day, one day a week, you're going to make a sandwich and you're going to take a sandwich to work.
Yeah.
Is that a step in changing your environment? Yeah. And so those little teeny tiny changes just to your daily habits and how you do things on a daily basis will stick and then grow. But you have to start with something, right? And so when I'm coaching people, we look at what their whole day looks like, and then we start looking at what can we add, where can we add it, where can we make some changes so that your environment still works for you, but you're not feeling like you can't do it all.
So just kind of, adding to that, or kind of an observation is, I'm assuming people who've coached before, as they introduce some of these habits, they probably save some money along the way.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And often the discussion again is like healthy eating can be pretty expensive at the store, or I don't have maybe the funds to start at a fitness facility, or a program, but you can save in a lot of different ways to do.
Yes.
I just kind of, that just hit me when you were talking about that. And I was like, I bet you there's a lot of money saved.
There is a lot.
Yeah, see some of that.
Yeah, when you start looking at it, even if you look at, okay, so I'm going to get a $6 a day drink at Starbucks, and this example is often overused, but it's a valuable example. $6 a day, every day, 30 days out of the month is $180.
Mm-hmm.
What could you do with $180?
Right.
You can buy a lot of vegetables and meat for $180.
Sure you can, yeah.
100% you could, right? Could you get a gym membership at Fit for Less for $40 a month, I don't even know what it is anymore. I know you can go to the service center for under $60 a month, right? Could you do that if you just cut out 10 of your Starbucks drinks a month? Yeah. Change your environment.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you never have a Starbucks drink and you never,
right.
But even if you took out one a week as a start, right? I'm not going on Saturdays anymore. I'm going to go do this instead.
Yeah.
It's a step.
Sure.
Right. And it's a practical starting mark. And then you might notice, on the days I don't go to Starbucks for my husband calls them frou-frou drinks. When you don't go to, all of a sudden you have more energy that day. And your eating habits are a little different because you're not craving the same things for the rest of the day.
Right.
And if you start to notice what changes when you make that one little change, then it becomes easier to make other changes in your environment too. Right. So, yeah. But the money's a big thing.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Even if you look at, like you said, from the eating out standpoint, and again, it's so easy. You can pick up your phone, skip 7-Eleven for a Slurpee.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I was floored.
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay, I'm old because I would never even think of doing that. But there's people that are doing that, right? So, okay, maybe instead, and this is an extreme example again, but instead of going on your phone and ordering skip, you get up, you walk to your car, you walk into the store, walk around the store, get your own Slurpee, walk back to your car, and then walk away. At least you walked to go and get it.
Yeah.
And is that a start? Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop using skip. Start walking and going and actually, getting up to go and do these things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, extreme example.
Yeah.
But go walk to get your Slurpee instead of driving or ordering skip to get it. Yeah. Yeah. And we wonder why we're having so many issues. We don't move.
Yeah.
And so there's something that it's called NEAT. So it is just the activity that you do day to day. It is all the things that you do. So for me, I'm a hand talker. I move all the time. I'm walking all the time around my business. The more things that you're doing in a day, we have become such a technology-driven society that all the little tiny things that we used to do, we don't do anymore. So when I was a kid, we had 2 channels. I had to get up, go to the TV, change the channel, and then go back, probably get up and adjust the rabbit ears, and then go back and sit down again, right? When we washed the floor, I didn't have a Roomba thingy that just went around our floors. And we actually got down on our hands and knees and scrubbed the floor. We had a vacuum cleaner, had to vacuum, right? All the things that we used to do for ourselves that we now have machines and technology to do takes away from the energy expenditure that we have every single day. So that's gone down. And then if we're not getting up and cooking a meal and we're not going to buy groceries and we're not doing those things, then that's more that's taken away from our daily expenditure. And that daily expenditure of energy and all those little things that we do is actually more important than the exercise that you get, which is why this is so important, because all of that is your environment, all of it.
Right. So
instead of, having a Roomba that's going to vacuum your floor and wash your floor for you, get out a regular vacuum and actually do it manually. Your body will thank you for doing it.
Right.
Get down on your hands, wash your floor. Get down on your hands and you can actually do it. And people are going to laugh at me and go, like, seriously, Don? Yeah, seriously. Because the more things that you physically do in a day, the more your body will be healthy. And they're little tiny, it's like you can get an awful lot of movement in from cleaning your house if you do it yourself instead of with machines.
For me at the office, I don't know, the team appreciates it, but my body is thankful that I get up and I go and talk to them instead of sending messages or emails all the time. But I do. I'm always up and going. I'd rather, talk in person, right?
Yes.
But yeah.
Yeah. But even in our homes, right? You'll find teenagers down in the basement texting their parents that are sitting on the couch upstairs. Get up and walk up the stairs and go have a conversation. Nope, we're going to text back and forth, right? I'm the same way. And one of my girlfriends, we talked about it too. And she's the same thing, is that everybody is sending messages and whatever. And she's like, nope, I'm getting up and I'm going to go walk down the hall and I'm going to go and have a conversation. And she's like, they're literally 4 doors down the hallway.
Yeah.
I think I can get up and go have the conversation and then I'll come back. Right. And then she's not sitting. She's just a good excuse to go get a glass of water, whatever. And it gets her up and moving more. So she does. Her energy expenditure then goes up again for the day. Right. What else? Changing that language. So instead of saying, I can't go to the gym. Okay. Well, what can we do instead then? I can buy myself some hand weights and I can do some things in my own basement. If you don't have the money for hand weights, you could just do some body weight exercises in your basement. Generally, body weight exercises, you need the size of mat. So a space that is about 6 feet long by 3 feet wide. Most of us can find that space where we can do some body weight exercises on the floor, right? And even if you're starting with doing a few sets of squats, some push-ups, right? And just a couple of things as from a movement perspective. Is that a step in a direction? Yeah, 100% it is, right? So changing your environment, and maybe that means that you bring your mat upstairs to where you'll see it. And then it's staring at you as you're watching Netflix.
Yeah.
And you might pull it out and actually do some things in front of the TV. But if it's out of sight, it's probably out of mind. I talked about this with a client the other day because they're called melt treatments. So they're a myofascial release technique. And they're just a small set of balls and they come in like a little tiny pouch bag. And my husband did a great cleanup of the house for one day and he put them away. And all of a sudden I'm like, I feel like my grip strength's going down, which is natural as you get over 50, right? You start to lose your grip strength a little bit and I'll get some headaches and stuff from dehydration. I'm like, what is going on? And then I realized, where are my milk bowls aren't sitting here. I said, you cannot put those away. If they aren't sitting here beside me, then I forget. And I know to do it. But if they're not sitting there, then I forget to do it. That's my environment. I need that, right? And I'm not the only one. We need those little visual reminders that, hey, I know you're comfy there on the couch, but the mat's right there. We should really pull that out and do something.
I never connected that, but I always leave my gym bag by the front door. That's probably why.
Yes.
It's a reminder. Yeah. I never even thought of that until you said that.
Yes. Yeah. And again, it's a change to your environment, right? So if you're always forgetting your gym clothes, where do we put them so you remember, right? Even something as simple as, I want to get up every morning and I want to go for a walk. But then you're trying and you're like, this is so hard to do. It's so hard. So what is the holdup? Well, for a lot of people, it's like, I get up and then I wander out and my first thing is I go make a coffee and then, okay, well, we need to change your routine. Let's change that a little bit. So at night before you go to bed, we're going to put your clothes beside the coffee pot. And then you close it there. You're like, oh yeah, I was going to go for a walk.
Yeah.
And out, right? But until you change where that environment put you, then it's just a step.
Sure.
And some people are great at it, all on their own. And they can just like start, like you just started putting your bag in that place without even realizing that that's what you were doing. And you just adapt and you just do those things. But for other people, this is a very big struggle because we are creatures of habit. And so this is what I always do. I understand, but we've got to change what you're always doing.
Yeah.
And the more things you change at once in your environment, the less likely they are to stick. So if you're like, it is January 1st and I'm going to start exercising every day and I'm never eating bread again and the sugar is out of my house and
Yeah.
the chances of you doing any of that stuff past the 4-week mark is almost nothing. So are you better to make small changes, change what's around you, implement those, make them stick, and then add more? Are you going to be further ahead by the end of the year? Yeah, by a lot, because it's the consistency that matters. If you figure it out in days and you're like, I'm going hard for 30 days, and then you die, you're like, I'm out, and you don't do anything again for 4 months because now you got to get ready for summer. And then you go back and like hard, go at it for 30 days because I got to get into a bathing suit. And then you don't do anything for the rest of the summer because we're on the beach drinking beer and doing things, right? And then you're good. And then it's like, oh, winter vacation's coming. I'm going to do 30 days. I can do anything for 30 days. And you do it, then you go on your holiday and you forget all of it. So you're lucky if you get 90 days out of the year. It's not a lot, really.
Yeah.
But if you can consistently fit in 3 days a week of movement, you can fit in 3 good meals a week compared to what you were doing before, all of a sudden you have 156 days that you've actually maintained consistency over the year. Are you going to be more ahead from a health standpoint and from a health metric standpoint? Yes, by a lot.
Yeah. I read a book many years ago called The One Thing. And it was a whole
It's an
idea.
awesome book.
Yeah, all about just that habit of just what's one thing I can
One
do,
thing.
right? That's going to help improve, right?
And that can be applied to so many
Yeah.
things. It's even when I'm doing my weekly planning, I have a one thing. What is my one thing this week?
Yeah.
That is my non-negotiable. I have to get this piece of this project, this whatever it is. This is my one thing.
Yeah.
And that's always for one thing. And taught my kids, it's kind of like, I call it eating the frog first. So it's usually the thing you want to do the least.
Mhm. Yeah.
So you always do it first because then it's done and out of the way,
Sure. Yeah.
right? And so that eating the frog first for a lot of people is fitting in some movement or learning how to cook or learning how to make a grocery list.
Yeah.
Right? And so maybe that's where a lot of people just need to start.
Right.
Yeah. Something else. Find a person. Like if you're struggling to make some of these changes, then finding a person that can help you make some changes to your environment. And that might be a friend. It might be one of your kids. Kids are great reminders. Like especially when my kids were little, they'd be like, Mom, I thought you were going to. Mom.
Yeah.
And it's okay to tell them what you're doing because they will, and it teaches them at the same time, right? But a friend, a family member, kids, get them involved with what you're doing because then you're more likely to maintain that consistency of doing it. So again, your friend is your environment. They're your support system. They're the person that's going to keep you. I don't like saying accountable because that's not accurate, but they are the person that gives you support when you feel like you're not quite able to keep going on your own, right? And we all need those people. So who's your person?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like, and my perspective is the only person really that you can hold yourself is holding yourself accountable.
Yes.
So sometimes when you vocalize it or you're like kind of having that conversation, you're making that commitment to yourself kind of, right? So you don't want to,
And we talked about like, you can't wait for motivation. You can't wait for somebody to be accountable to. Motivation isn't something that you get. It's something you create.
Sure.
And the only way you create motivation is by taking action first. Action creates motivation. Action creates accountability. And if you don't take action first, The rest of it doesn't matter. You can't be accountable to me. And people will say, well, I just need you for my accountability. Well, if you're relying on me for accountability, what are you going to do when I'm not here doing that anymore? Are you going to pay me for the rest of your life to be accountable to? That's not real. And my goal is to always make people self-sufficient. I don't want to be coaching you forever. I want to make you self-sufficient so you can do all these things on your own.
Yeah.
And if you are thinking that I'm the one that motivates you and I'm the one that's holding you accountable, you will never do these things on your own. Again, that's part of your environment, is your thought processes. And, and having those strong people in your life that are going to give you the support and tell you the hard things so that, you can be motivated and accountable to yourself.
Yeah.
I think we live in a little bit of a blame society where we blame everybody else for the fact that we are where we are. And you can't be accountable or have motivation for yourself if you're always blaming other people for where you are.
Yeah.
And that's a hard lesson.
Yeah.
But it's real.
And I think also understanding what, like, I've kind of come across anyways, people are either positive or negatively motivated, right? So it's understanding that motivation, that like some people need that positive reinforcement and or noticing differences. Some are very negatively motivated. I bet you can't do this. And I'll show you and I'll do it. Right. And so we've seen, I've experienced or seen that before. So it's understanding what powers you kind of too, I would say, right?
Yeah. And then how do you do that for yourself?
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's a self-awareness piece.
Sure. Yeah.
That's an understanding how you function, because I am very much, as soon as you said it, I was like, oh yeah, that's me. So as soon as somebody tells me I can't do something,
look out.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think that was a good choice of words, but I also don't like the word can't.
Sure.
Like I think it's one of the most negative words that we use. And when we use it for ourselves, it is so powerful.
Sure.
And powerful in a very detrimental way. The power of that word is shocking, right? And because I deal with so many people that are post-physio or they're dealing with chronic pain and those kinds of things, you can imagine the I can't comes out a lot.
Yeah, we probably use it pretty loosely. I can imagine most people.
Most people
right?
do.
Yeah, so that's right.
Most people do. What else? Doing small things like taking smaller portions can change your environment too, right? Perhaps you learn how to use hand portions and you take smaller portions to begin with, and then if you're still hungry later, then you grab more. One of the big changes that we make in people's eating habits is teaching them to eat slowly and without distraction. Because most of people at this point, say most loosely, but we don't sit at the table as a family as much anymore.
Right.
We don't have those conversations. We have phones and distractions at the table. A lot of people have TVs in their kitchens. There's just a lot of distraction. And then people eat really, really quickly. And with all the distractions, they don't taste the food they're eating. They don't enjoy the food they're eating. And they're definitely not enjoying the company that's around them. Right? And all those pieces are part of your environment during a meal. And so if your environment during a meal is distracted, chaotic, rushed, is that going to change how you eat? Yes. Every single time.
Sure.
For moms, super common is everyone else gets, and you're just standing at the island eating food, and you don't even bother sitting down. I'm eating, kids have sat down eating their breakfast. I'm shoving food in my mouth as I make lunches in the morning. This is how I eat breakfast. If I eat any breakfast, have my coffee, out the door I go. Maybe I'm grabbing a muffin as I walk out the door, right? So is that environment for eating a meal different than calm? Everyone sits down and eats together, and you actually eat a meal in the morning, slow, and enjoy what you're eating. Yes.
Yeah.
And does it have an impact?
Sure.
Yeah. So that environment, even just around how you choose to organize your meals and how you sit down to eat them, also has an effect on your health. digestive health, physical health, sometimes mental health, right? Like, because chaos just breeds more chaos.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
And then the organization of your kitchen is another one that's really quite simple.
Really?
Yeah. So and not just your kitchen, but basically your house. So when things in the space where you live are disorganized or messy or seem chaotic, it makes it more difficult to implement healthy lifestyles. It is just a wild thing. So if it's hard to find when you open your pantry door and it's hard to find what you're looking for, and once a year you clean out your pantry and you figure out, oh, look at that, I had 16 packages of spaghetti.
Guilty.
Right?
Yeah.
So is that part of your environment? Yes.
Yeah.
Right? If you walk into your kitchen in the morning and all the dirty dishes from the day before are all over your counters, there's still food left over that you can put away in containers on your stove. Is that a more chaotic atmosphere to wake up to in the morning? And are you more likely to, leave it there? Or are you going to clean it up? It's an extra thing to do, right? So then the to-do list starts to pile, and we don't have enough time for that to-do list. And so then something else has to give. Well, if I'm going to get my kitchen cleaned up today, I'm going to have to grab McDonald's for supper.
Yeah.
Right? So my kitchen's a mess. So then I'm going to have to wash dishes before I can even cook. And I got to get Johnny to hockey practice. So I don't have time to do both of those things. McDonald's it is while he's wolfing down McDonald's, and I'm going to do the dishes. The chaos that's in our environment has a big impact on the choices that we make.
Right.
So organizing your kitchen, and part of organizing your kitchen is knowing what you have.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know what you have, then buying groceries also becomes more difficult, right? Doing meal planning or making that grocery list is more difficult if you open up the pantry and go, I don't even know what we have, right? And does that in turn save you money? Yes.
Yeah,
because if you've got 16 packages of spaghetti in your cupboard, you don't need 16 packages, right? What are the chances? Unless you're eating spaghetti every day. But you've spent how much money on all these things, and now they're expired in your pantry.
Yeah.
And you're just donating them or throwing them out because they're expired. Right. So yeah, I've had clients over the years where we do a pantry clean out and they're just absolutely floored. And I do this too, right? Once a year, clean out my pantry. My husband's like, this is from 2023. We missed it last time. I'm like, oh no. This one's from 2022. We obviously missed it twice. Oh my goodness. Okay. But it's a waste of money. Right? So if you're organized and you know what's in your kitchen, then it saves you money in the long run as well.
100%. I know we've had those ebbs and flows where you will make a good meal plan for the week. So you're into your pantry doing that inventory, making your grocery list, planning for the week. But then we've all had it, right? You have that chaotic 2-3 week stretch, and we need stuff at the store, and you grab it and you come home with it and put it away. And before you know it, you do have the 2Zs, 3Zs, 4Zs of things. And you didn't know, right? It kind of builds up. But it's a real thing. Yeah.
I'm fortunate because my husband is a great organizer, and he likes to organize things. Our garage is like, people walk into it and go, wow, well, who did this to your garage? This is my husband. So he's very like, we need to clean out the pantry and go through things because it'll drive him nuts when he opens it up, right? But he's more likely to cook if when he opens the pantry, he can see what's in there and he can pick what he knows he likes to cook, and then he'll make something. If it's chaos, he's like, open it, forget it. Close the door, let's order pizza. Like, word for word, right? Yeah. And so that's a huge part of your environment, and it has a massive effect on what's going to happen. Same thing as if your laundry is piled up in the laundry room and then another basket in your bedroom and another. Okay, now it is morning. I'm going to go get my gym bag packed, but I can't find my clothes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have time to go digging through Okay, so now today I don't have my gym clothes. Okay, then do you have them the next day? And then it's like this slope, right? So the more organized we are, then it's easier to maintain those schedules, easier to maintain the consistency. So
Sure.
yeah, we're very, human beings are very schedule oriented, very routine oriented. And when we get off of those, even I know a lot of people say, Don, I don't like schedules. You do, you just don't know it.
Yeah.
Because are you happy right now? Right? And they'll say, well, no. How are you doing health wise right now? Well, there's this and this and this and this. Okay. So what if we try scheduling some things? Let's do even just a consistent bedtime and a consistent wake up time in the morning. Well, that's silly. Well, but it's a step, and it's a practical step to changing how your environment is working for you so that you have a little bit of a schedule, and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Do you start to feel better? Inevitably, the answer is yes.
Sure.
It's very uncommon for that to be a no.
Right.
Right? Yeah. So yeah, all of those things have to do with your environment, and we could talk and have example after example after example for hours and hours and hours. But I think the most important piece for people to take away is that the bottom of the triangle is important. It is just those small, easy things. You don't have to go on some fancy diet and buy all these fancy foods and make all these meals that with ingredients that you don't necessarily enjoy in order to make changes to your health.
Yeah.
It can be simple. It can be easy. It is a disservice that has happened in the fitness and nutrition industry and the health industry to make things so much more complicated for people than they need to be.
Yeah.
And so it's real part of my goal is just to simplify things for people.
Sure.
It's just simple. And it's probably one of the things I hear the most from people when they come in to talk about nutrition or health, whatever it is there are so many opinions out there. You go online and you could find in one page search, you can find 15 different opinions on the exact same topic.
Yeah.
How are you supposed to know what's right and what's wrong? They're all right in some way, shape, or form.
Sure. Yeah.
All of them are in some way, shape, or form. Is there a right way for you? Yeah. But sorting through that mess on every single topic that you want to talk about when it comes to food or movement or, anything that has to do with your health is exhausting and overwhelming. So sometimes you just need to simplify just the whole thing.
Sure.
Keep it simple, right? We've used the KISS principle for many years.
Yeah,
right?
100%. And that's why they're it's kind of the foundation, right? Do these foundational steps, add a little bit of movement, and if it's a certain habit that helps reduce maybe a little bit of caloric intake, I'm not going to drink a calorie maybe is what, or starting out, I'll have coffee, but maybe I'm not going to have it with, sugar in it anymore or something, right? Just those basic steps and you kind of go from there, right?
And it can be small. So we can use the Starbucks example again. So if you go from buying a large fancy Starbucks 500 calorie drink, and instead you make yourself a double at home.
Yeah.
Is that a step?
Yeah.
100% it is. Yeah. Is it less calories for you to start your day? Is it less sugar for you to start your day on? Yeah. Right. Maybe instead of making that stop, then you also have, a piece of toast with peanut butter on it. Instead of having whatever it is, if you're stopping Tim's as an example, instead of grabbing the donut.
Yeah.
Right. Is a piece of toast with peanut butter on it a little bit better choice than the donut? Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely it is.
And you didn't take anything away.
You didn't take anything away.
Changed.
Yeah. Or you add the piece of toast with peanut butter.
Yeah.
Right? So it can be change or it can just be adding things. Yeah. And I think, sometimes even that little change in the morning with just adding food instead of just having a drink for breakfast, that's a massive change for people.
Mhm.
And if you're not hungry in the morning, chances are it's because there's something else going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
We should probably be looking at that.
Yeah.
So, last thing is I added a quote. So this is: surround yourself with people who believe in your dreams, encourage your ideas, support your ambitions, and bring out the best in you. These are the people we surround ourselves with. And this is all the wonderful things that they affect that are in your environment. And these are your 5 people. So the more you can find your 5 people, the bigger the health outcomes are going to be for you.
Right.
Because they affect everything else in your surroundings.
100%.
100%. Yeah. Yep. I think that's it.
You had no questions? Okay. Okay.
Oh,
I do have
my.
one.
You have another one for me?
One more I kind of was thinking a little bit about, and the environment. A lot of people out there have stressful jobs. Could be whether it's high pressure in an office to, out in the field, like oil and gas or producers have a lot of stress, right?
Yes.
Like is there any suggestions about how to maybe, how to make a safe environment, or, you can't control everything, but is there little tricks or tips or anything like around, maybe helping those kind of crazy environments for these people a bit? And I think you might lean towards probably some things around consistency is picked up earlier we talked about, but just some thoughts a little bit around some of those pieces, because stress is hard on us, right?
Yeah. And stress is probably one of the biggest things impeding people's health at this point. We live in a very, very fast paced. If I look back, I'm mid 50s, and I look back to, the 70s and early 80s and how we lived life back then compared to how we live life now. It is hugely, hugely different. And are there some great things? Yes, like 100%, there's some great things. But there was also more simplicity to it, right? We weren't as stressed.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up in the city, so you think more chaos when you grow up in a city than compared to living here in Lloyd, as an example, right? But simplifying things is part of it, and that's kind of been a little bit of a theme. I've said simplify I don't know how many times in the last 45 minutes, but taking time to stop. And I think part of this is maybe on an employer side,
Mm-hmm.
right? That sometimes people don't feel like they have the ability to stop. Their workloads are high. And so often when I talk to people about, just set an alarm on your phone, and every hour, get up, leave your desk, walk around, go down the hallway, walk back, move, just get up and move. Roll your shoulders around, like move your body once an hour, even if it's only for 5 minutes. Well, I can't do that, Tony. My workload is too high. There's no way. If I did that every hour while I'm at work, that's 40 minutes off my day. I can't spare 40 minutes of my day or get my workload done. There's our I can't word again, right? And so my question to some of them is then, could you have a discussion with your boss and make sure it's okay, right? Because maybe that's you feel this, depending on when you grew up, you feel this intense pressure to perform and to meet a certain expectation, right? And so maybe that's what you need is permission. Now, some people have come back and said, my boss said it, as long as I get my work done, it's fine. But if I take that much time, I won't get it done. So it's not going to happen, right? So I think employers also have to be a little bit more on board. and say that it's okay. Like, you get up.
Yeah.
Get your butt off your chair and go. We're not sedentary creatures. We need to move. And the more your employees are allowed to get up and move around, they still need to do their job, of course, but to be able to get up and move even once an hour for 5 minutes will improve their productivity. It'll improve their mental health. It'll improve their physical health, right?
Yeah.
It'll just improve their social health because they're probably going to talk to their coworkers a little more.
Sure.
That the long-term benefit is huge. And will it decrease their stress?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So I think, like I said, sometimes it's a conversation from a workplace standpoint, but then it can also be a conversation from a home front standpoint as well. Our roles have changed substantially, right, since the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, right, where often one parent was able to stay at home. And now we don't do that anymore. And I don't think people give enough credit to the fact that women in particular are, and I'll speak for women of my age more than anything. I won't speak for people that are younger than me. Excuse me. And I know this from just talking to so many women my own age, that there is a pressure there to be able to do it all.
Mm-hmm.
Like 100% do it all. I had a very strong role model in my mom. She volunteered at the school. She did stuff for the bake sales. She was always there to take us to our activities. My mom did everything, right? She looked after the house. She knew every neighbor on our block. She knew all the kids on the block. We were a community inside of our community, right? But my mom didn't work outside the home when we were younger. I was 13 before my mom went back to work, right? And so there's a lot for women my age to maintain from a role model standpoint of what my mom did and what I wanted to be able to provide for my kids. But then also working full time, right? Running a business for me, I just decided I'd pile that one on there, right? My journey was different and it wasn't like a big stressful thing, but for a lot of people, right? And so you have a lot of people now that are trying to do all of it. Mom's still trying to be the best moms, doing all the mom things that their moms did.
Right.
And they're not asking for help when they need it. And that adds another level of stress.
Yeah.
Because there is, and again, I'm speaking for me and for women my age, not for anybody else. But asking for help isn't really an option because then you failed.
Yeah.
Right. And so we should be able to do it all. And the reality is that you can't. You're now doing 2 full-time jobs. And so how do you decrease that stress? You start setting boundaries. You have to have conversations. You have to, distribute the workload. Really, you do. And not, again, this is environment. Not everyone has that ability to do that. So there's, 55-year-old men that also grew up in that environment, right? Mom did this, dad did this. And so changing those perceptions is also hard.
Oh, sure. Yeah. That pressure, speaking about the guys, I think there's a lot of pressure to feel like, providing, right?
Yes.
And so I think there's, I could speak for guys, definitely my generation and older that have that attitude, a lot of pressure on themselves,
yes.
Right? And that even makes me think about, out in the field or producers or again, working oil and gas type, a lot of pressure and you never want to say no, never, the demand to just do more and more and more. And I think it's okay to have a little bit of grace for yourself and take a step back and a breather too, right? Or you'll crash and burn, I would think eventually. Mental health will catch up to you. Yeah.
And, we have a lot of people that are away from family, right? Lloyd has always been a transient place because of oil and gas. And so we've always had a lot of people come and go, right? And that aren't necessarily around family. But more and more, it's amazing how many people are moving back because of family.
Yeah.
And so we've had this long period of time where we've kind of been disconnected, and families and everybody has kind of moved away from each other. And now we're starting to see them come back together again. And families move closer together because of the support. Right. We've been missing that support of family, support of community. And there's some projects that are happening within the city where they're really promoting building communities, and they have like block party kits and other things that you can now do. And I think building those communities is also part of your environment. How do you keep your community healthy? You build them, right? You build those support systems in, and decreasing stress happens when you do that, because then people have a better support system, right? So there's a lot of ways to decrease the stress. But you have to have almost like a community approach to it. And you also have to have a voice, right? And be willing to stand up and say, like, okay, I'm having a problem with this. I need to, I need to shorten my hours, or I need to do, because I'm finding this to be overwhelming. And if I don't do something, then I'm not going to be working here at all anymore, right? As an example. So, yeah, I think there's a role to be played by a lot of different parts.
Sure. Yeah, that's good. Any more? Has there been any questions over here? No. This has been great. I've really enjoyed tonight. Did you have anything else you want to add, Donna?
No, I will just say that if people have questions, in the slideshow, I've been including a QR code. So we do 15-minute goal setting sessions for people. If anyone has questions about anything that we're talking about, they can feel free to scan the code. They can book an appointment, and we'll have a 15-minute conversation, like for free. I'll just give them a hand, and even if it is pointing them in the direction of resources, and if that's what they need, is to figure out where are some resources in town, I can help them with that even, right? Yeah. So, that's just something that I decided to provide for people when we did this. So
awesome.
If that's there, then and I know that you guys are going to be sharing the slideshow in there too, so people can just scan that and they can they can ask whatever they want, or they can also email us and they can ask questions that way too. If they
Thanks. Yeah, this has been a great session again, our second session of 6. So again, Donna Schallenberg to the core Pilates and nutrition. Looking forward to the next 4. So this has been just an awesome evening. We'll be coming back to you in a couple weeks. So looking forward to that. So we're going to sign off and thank you again for this evening.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me again.
Thanks.